Hi everyone, I'm Heather and this is my teammate Emily, and we're both senior PMMs on the Work Management Solutions Marketing team. And like Javi said, we're going to talk to you today about working differently with Atlassian Together.
Before we start, I'd like to do a quick little poll with the people here. By show of hands, who here doesn't know what their marketing team is working on this quarter? Okay, that's a few of you. Who here does not know what's on their engineers' roadmaps right now? Okay. Who here lacks insight into what teams are doing around them? Okay. And who here thinks that they spend way too much time trying to find information internally? Okay, yeah, that's definitely some hands. So if you raise your hand, unfortunately, it sounds like you might need a new way of working. But believe us, it's not just a you problem. This is unfortunately really common. Staying up to speed on what is happening is a really common issue. Gaps and misalignments between teams are so common that entire movements have happened to address them. For example, the agile method of software development gained a lot of popularity in the early 2000s. It helped development teams react and adapt quickly to changes. Then in around 2007, there were additional concerns. The issue was that the developers who were writing the code often worked separately from the operations team who supported that code in production. This resulted in a general lack of collaboration between those two very siloed teams. Does that sound familiar to anyone? That's because the remedy for that was DevOps, which bridges the gaps between these two teams so that they can work better together. DevOps brings the development and the operations teams together with simple steps and common tools. So there's a solution for IT and dev teams to work together, but what about their partners on the business side? While there hasn't been a movement that has transformed how our business teams work with their technical counterparts, there is a new approach that considers how this work gets done. So what exactly is that?
So this concept of how work gets done is known as work management. And essentially, it's a strategic approach for using workflows to distribute information. And it involves anything that moves a task from to do to done. And that could be people, projects, resources, time, tools, you name it. The goal is to improve the quality of work across an entire company. So let's see some hands again. Does this sound familiar to anyone? Okay, only a few, got it. Raise your hand if you think your company is doing this well. No one? Okay. Looks like some of you are experiencing some issues with this. So I know we've all run into issues while trying to do our jobs, and obviously workplace culture plays a huge role here, but it can usually stem from a couple other things, and this is usually silos and sprawl. So silos occur when information exists in different places, and because it doesn't have a singular home, it's really hard to know where it lives and how to find access to it. And when it isn't managed, it leads to app sprawl, which in turn makes these silos worse. And who hasn't struggled with this? You're looking for an answer, you don't know where to find it, so you spend so much time looking through pages, trying to track it down. And maybe you know the team that has the answer, but you can't get in touch with them because they don't come online until tomorrow, so you're blocked, and this can be very frustrating.
So there's some common themes that we've heard from customers when we started talking to them about a work management solution. And these themes are business and tech team collaboration. There's a general lack of visibility into what other teams are working on, specifically between these two departments. Tool proliferation. Teams are using different tools that do similar things spread out across multiple platforms, and these tools don't communicate well together. Distributed workforce. Teams crave the autonomy to work the way that they want, across tools and time zones, but without some sort of standardization, this makes collaboration difficult. Employee experience. Having more apps means more information living in different locations, which leads to employees spending too much time tracking down information. So let's dive into one of these a little bit deeper, starting with the biz and tech team collaboration. Bringing these teams together is one of the most important initiatives customers have. When these teams are aligned, it's like magic. But unfortunately, what I'm about to show you is all too common for many of you out there. Now, this clearly isn't an accurate representation of every tech team, biz and tech team, but it should be enough to make a point. From a collaboration standpoint, channels between our product and our dev teams are pretty open and used because they already have agile processes in place. However, walls exist between other teams in the form of tool silos, and all too often a scenario such as this will play out. The product team says, hey marketing, we're launching this new feature. Where's my launch for it? And the marketing team is caught off guard, and they're left wondering, why am I being brought into this process so late in the game? So they quickly spin up something to get a campaign started. Now, inevitably, our customers start hearing about this, and then they start reaching out to their account teams, and they want a briefing on the latest and greatest new features. But unfortunately, the account team hasn't been enabled yet. Marketing's fault, right? Oops. So they quickly spin up something to fix that. Meanwhile, our customers are already feeding back request changes to our sales team, who is then sending that feedback to the product team in the form of customer requested changes. Then the product team says, those changes are great, but they're not priorities on our roadmap. They're in the backlog. We would need to hire more people in order to resource that accommodation. But then finance says, guys, we got no money for this, and HR's hands are tied. And all this time, the dev team is left wondering, I wonder what customers thought about that latest feature release. And of course, the sales team is thinking, they need to find a way to get that latest feature release up there in all those customer accommodations. So they go directly to the source and ask the dev team to try and squeeze in those updates in their next release. They got to find a way to make that sales after all, right? And all this while, the exec staff is left wondering, what the heck is going on with this latest release? Unfortunately, I think all of us have experienced this to some extent.
All right, next up is tool proliferation. So remember those silos and sprawls I was talking about earlier? Emilee just showed us a great example of how hectic it can be when each team has their own tools and priorities. Communication breaks down and things get really messy. Did you know that the average organization has over 130 apps, with enterprises seeing up to 450? It's really easy to see how app sprawl can become a problem if each team has their own tool set. And next, the challenge of distributed work. How do you keep teams connected when they can't be in the same room together? So remote or hybrid work used to be a luxury enjoyed by few. Now there are more remote and hybrid workers than ever before. Atlassian looked into this, and we found that there are significantly more hybrid workers in 2022 than there were in 2021. And yeah, we all know that like working from home or being able to go into the office for a few times a week has a lot of benefits, but it also comes with its own set of challenges. For example, it can be really hard to stay connected or communicate about work when everyone is working at different times of the day and maybe located in different time zones.
And lastly, employee experience. Workers crave the ability to work flexibly, both in terms of location and in tools. Whether they work remotely or in office, they struggle to maintain the visibility into the status of work around them. They want a clear source of truth for information, and they don't want to spend too much time trying to track down that work in order to get stuff done. Research shows that due to these app silos and sprawls, workers spend up to 3.6 hours per day actually searching for information to get their jobs done. And the question is whether they actually find it or not, and our research also shows it's only about 44% of the time. We think this is also likely why remote workers spend up to 60% more time in meetings just to get work done. Because we all know, when you can't get the information you need, how many of you have set up time with somebody just to ask questions in order to move work forward? Unfortunately, more meetings leads to feelings of burnout, leads to Zoom fatigue, and what suffers when employees are feeling burnt out? Efficiency and productivity, the very thing that employers are trying to ensure of their employees.
In an ideal world, all teams can work together. They have the autonomy to work the way they want because they have the information they need. They are aligned because they have the right tools to communicate and track work. So, is there actually a way to achieve this? You may have heard, but we recently released a new solution called Atlassian Together, and it was created to solve all the challenges that we just discussed. It's a single cloud subscription to Atlassian's work management tools, Confluence, Trello, Jira Work Management, and Atlas. It also includes Access, our identity management solution. You probably know some or all of these tools, but let's do a quick overview.
So starting off with Confluence, Confluence is our remote-friendly workspace where knowledge and collaboration meet. Teams can use Confluence to create, organize, search, share, and collaborate on contents of all different types, all from a centralized hub from anywhere in the world. Next up, we have Jira Work Management. Jira Work Management harnesses the power of Jira, but is built specifically for business teams. You can use Jira Work Management to power projects and structured workflows, use it to track tasks, deadlines, or dependencies. Trello can be used for a wide range of use cases. It was designed to be easy to use for teams to collaborate on things like big picture planning, brainstorming, team meetings, task management, or as like a personal dashboard. Atlas is one of our newest work management products. It's the first teamwork directory that helps connect the dots across teams, their apps, and their work. Teams use Atlas to openly communicate and get context about work happening across the organization. All of these products are built on top of the Atlassian platform, which serves as a common foundation for identity, data, teams, and workflows. Our platform is open by design, giving teams the ability to integrate easily with their favorite tools and stay aligned across the organization. Best of all, Atlassian Together is extremely well priced. With a single subscription, you get access to all of these tools, plus access at a lower price than other work management solutions in the market.
So how does Atlassian Together solve all the challenges that we just outlined? Remember that chaotic example of the business and tech teams trying to stay aligned, but they just couldn't get it together? I'm excited to show you how Atlassian Together can help. One of the best ways to improve alignment and collaboration between teams is to eliminate information silos and app sprawl. Uniting these teams on the same platform allows for better alignment, responsiveness to business needs, and improves cross-functional collaboration at scale. Atlassian products are already extremely popular with technical teams, and according to the State of Agile report, Jira software is the #1 tool recommended by Agile teams. Our data shows that tech teams are already using Jira and Confluence. That means that over half are already using one of the tools in the Atlassian Together solution.
So let's go back to that chaotic example with the silos between the biz and tech teams. So in this scenario, our product and our dev teams are already using Jira software and Confluence to get their work done. Yet all of the other teams around them are using different tools, which, as we just outlined, leads to a lot of problems. With Atlassian Together, your business and your tech teams will be connected on a common platform using Confluence and Jira together as a source of truth for information. Business teams can use Jira Work Management and Trello to stay on top of tasks and dependencies, which can be linked to Jira software. And Atlas gives users org-wide visibility into the status of projects and work across all teams and helps them identify who's working on what across the organization. Access is that admin-level control and centralized enterprise-grade security across the entire organization, giving admins also fewer tools to manage. With Atlassian Together, workers have 4 products that give them the autonomy to work the way they want, a common platform that helps them stay aligned across the organization, and it helps them move work forward more effectively.
So we discussed the challenges of tool proliferation earlier. Having too many apps can cause a lot of issues, and it can be really expensive. Atlassian Together can help you consolidate tooling and reduce costs by standardizing your teams on one platform. We recently spoke to an Atlassian Together customer about why they chose to standardize on the Atlassian Together or on the Atlassian platform, and they said they saw the benefit of having fewer, more strategic vendors help them meet their needs. Ultimately, what tools you decide to use is up to you. Atlassian Together is built to be open, so if some teams need to use other things and some use other tools, they can without issue. But standardizing on one platform has huge benefits for admins. By standardizing on the Atlassian platform, admins can manage all of their Atlassian tools in the admin hub. Atlassian Access provides security and visibility, giving admins the ability to do everything from user provisioning to authentication policies and more, all from one place. So while you may be adding a few new products at a great price to your portfolio, they're all easily managed and secure. And
we already know that our teams are increasingly distributed. and teams more than ever rely on asynchronous ways of working. So how can Atlassian Together help them be more efficient across locations and stay productive, all while giving employees a great experience? The products in Atlassian Together were built with remote work in mind. Atlassian itself is a very distributed workforce with teams across almost every time zone worldwide. Asynchronous work means that work can happen from anywhere that you have an internet connection. But you don't need to be in the same location or time zone to get work done. Work progresses via pages, comments, tickets, and boards. With Atlassian Together, employees have universal access to the organization's collective knowledge and can easily work across multiple tools. With one platform, everything is searchable, trackable, and you don't need to work in person in order to find the information you need. With the flexibility to work in the way that is best for them and the visibility into the work around them, teams are more connected and engaged, which also helps reduce burnout and improve productivity. Another way Atlassian Together makes it easy to work across tools is through our Smart Link features. Smart Links are like windows into your work and can help reduce the time switching between screens by allowing you to make changes from one tool when the work actually lives in another. For instance, I can embed a Trello board on a Confluence page and move the cards on the Trello board without ever leaving Confluence. Or I could open a Confluence page from Trello and make a change, an edit, all without opening a new tab. And if you're ever worried about security, there's no need. Smart Links respect any permissions that you set up across the products, and there's no install required. We know that the way each of your teams work is different based on the type of the work that they do, what their goals are, what their team culture is like, the tools that they choose, all sorts of factors. Atlassian Together allows teams to work in whatever way is best for them, yet still stay connected and work effectively together with other teams. No information silos, no disconnects because my team's favorite tools don't talk to your team's favorite tools. With Smart Links, connecting work in 5 incredible products, Atlassian Together helps teams work differently together. Different styles, cultures, geographies, and tools working together to unleash their team's potential.
So Atlassian is experts in teamwork, and we know that tools alone can't solve an organization's problems. How you collaborate and company culture play a huge role in building a highly engaged workforce. It can take years of investment before it pays off, but the effort is worthwhile. In a recent analysis, when comparing employee engagement levels, Gallup found that teams in the top quartile saw 23% higher profitability than teams in the bottom quartile. Atlassian has always invested in teams. It's kind of our thing. That's why we've created a few helpful resources to help teams reach their full potential. So each year we release the State of Teams report, which is an ongoing study conducted by Atlassian teamwork researchers. The goal of the report is to reveal macro-level trends and provide leaders with research-backed ways to foster happier, higher-performing teams.
We've also created the Atlassian Team Playbook. It's an online resource of free workshops, although we call them plays, that help teams identify and address common challenges and start important conversations. The goal of the Team Playbook is to provide teams with a way to continually improve how they work together. We also have our work management advisors who are trained to diagnose and drive new ways of working. These advisors are advocates and technology partners that work directly with customers to accelerate outcomes using Atlassian's work management solutions.
All right, so now we're gonna do a quick demo. Did you know Atlassian's getting into the sneaker biz? I'm just kidding, we're not. But if we did, it'd probably look really cool. And if we did, this is how we do it. So first off, Atlassian is a global company. We have teams all around the world working on this launch. We have teams in Hanoi, LA, New York, where I live. And as the project lead, I'm in charge of making sure that these teams stay aligned. I've worked on launches before, and it can be a major headache to keep everything straight. Important information is often hidden in emails, Slack channels, or the worst, in somebody's head. It can be a struggle to figure out who's working on what's up to date, and how everything is going. So that way of working is a thing of the past, and now I use Atlas to get up to speed. So this is an Atlas project. It gives me answers to questions I might have about something I'm working on. Things like, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? Who's working on it? How is it going? Instead of having to hunt for context and dig through emails and documents, all relevant updates and materials are located in one place. Every project in Atlas also has an About section, and this is where I provide context about the sneaker launch and attach any important documents. For example, this is the pitch deck we use to kick everything off. Atlas also shows business goals and what a project ladders up to and how we'll measure success. This makes it really easy to see the impact and importance of what we're working on. Each Atlas project also has a chronological feed of updates that show the progression of the launch from inception to now. I can also use Atlas to find team members. I can click into their profile to see what team they're on, other things they're working on, and even who they report to. I use it to keep leadership informed on the status of the launch with tweet size updates at the end of each week. I follow other projects to stay up to date on other work that might impact the sneaker launch. All right, now that I have the information I need, let's start my day. First, I add all of my tasks to Trello. This helps me manage my daily work and priorities. Each card represents something I need to do, remember, or keep track of. I have the columns of the board set up so I can see the status of a task, and I use labels to see priority. Smart links show me the details and let me make updates to a card without ever leaving a board. Power-ups and automations turn my emails, meetings, tasks, Slack messages into new cards, and I get to determine how work gets done and in what order. I like to think of Trello as my personal work dashboard. Okay, let's get back to the launch. To figure out what our sneakers should look like, Amar, our lead designer, creates a design decision template in Confluence. For this launch, we're using Confluence to keep track of all of our important documents. To get things started, he adds some context to the page using smart links. He uses the smart link picker, which searches across Atlassian and third-party apps to help him find the smart link that he needs. He just added a smart link to the related Atlas project right there. He's also added designs from Adobe Illustrator, samples from Miro, and a Google spreadsheet of cost calculations. At the end of his day, he shares the Confluence page with me and my team in New York and the manufacturing team in Hanoi. They're just coming online. While Amar is offline, the Hanoi team reviews the page. They add several links, including a loom walkthrough of current stitching options, a Miro board of sample thread colors, and some recent customer feedback that we captured through Intercom. I want to look at the cost of specialty colors, so I expand the Miro view. Through the smart link on Amar's page, I add my comments directly to the Miro board without ever having to leave. Amar will be notified of these comments and page additions when he starts his day. Thanks to async collaboration, he has what he needs to iterate on the design. Okay, so based on the feedback, Amar realizes that the team needs to brainstorm, so he decides to use Trello to gather ideas. Amar and his team use Trello for a lot of things, organizing their work, running meetings, or finalizing the specs for the launch. To make sure all related information is easy to reference, he adds a smart link to the Trello board right into the Confluence page that he was just working on. If he forgets anything, he can make changes directly to the board without ever leaving Confluence. So he sends out an invite and includes the Trello board and all of the historical context leading up to the brainstorm. His team uses this to add their ideas so they can have a productive brainstorming session. They find some time and they meet over Zoom. After the brainstorm, they've worked through several key decisions like what colors they want in their first sample, and they decide on materials. They've identified several dependencies that will be critical to the timeline of the launch. With so many moving parts, we really need to make sure that these dependencies are handled with precision and structure. And to do this, we use Jira Work Management. So I've already mapped out the project and captured all the critical milestones and dependencies, which you can see right there. In Jira Work Management, I can update the status of each, see who's assigned to what, due dates, and priorities across multiple teams and work streams. Amar and his team begin to add newly identified dependencies from their brainstorm. And it's really easy for them to see the team collaborating in real time because they're using Jira Work Management's multiplayer mode. All right, so once everything's plugged in, I add the timeline view to our Atlas project so everyone following along can see what needs to happen in order for the sneaker to launch on time. A few months have passed, the team and I have made some big decisions, removed blockers, and moved tasks from the backlog to doing to done. The launch date is getting closer and we feel super prepared. We've been able to stay on schedule thanks to Atlas. All of the teams involved in the launch were able to stay aligned thanks to a habit of communicating progress weekly. We've been keeping leadership informed, and we've given them a holistic view of launch progress without overloading them with the tactical details. In the past, I used to have to manually compile updates at the end of each week and share them out. Now, I can do it automatically. Using tags in Atlas, I can aggregate all relevant updates into one curated and shareable feed. All right, so fast forward 3 months, and the sneaker launch is a huge success. With the combined power of Atlassian Together products connected by smart links, the teams united across time zones, tools, and different ways of working to deliver amazing results together.
All right, thanks for that demo, Heather. Now that we've seen how the tools work together, we would love to take some questions. Okay, so for everyone else that maybe didn't hear that, the question was, do we have to have an enterprise license for Atlassian Together products? So currently, Atlassian Together is only GA for enterprise customers, meaning that it is 1,000 seats and up. So currently, that is where we're at, but we do hope to later at some point be available for lower user tiers. Not currently, no, I'm sorry. The question is 1,000 users apply to one product? The answer for that is, I'll take the answer for that. The answer for that is that no, it's 1,000 users, but you would get that across all of the products.
For the Trello, are all those power-ups included too? Or at least the ones that are usually offered in the tool?
So it definitely depends on like what edition of Trello you have, but with Atlassian Together, you get all the features that come with Trello Enterprise. So depending on the power up that you install and like the permissions that your admin sets, those are the ones that you can install there.
Okay. This is, as far as adoption goes, this is like a lot to, you don't just show up, Monday and say, we have all these tools now. How does that work, adoption? I know you mentioned a lot of people are already using Jira and Confluence, so how do you drive adoption and,
Yeah, that's a great question. So with Atlassian Together, and especially being at the enterprise level right now, you would be working with the customer success manager who is going to help kind of guide you through that adoption process with your team so that you are set up for success.
There were some features here that we saw, smart linking, like into Trello, where you would just drop the link and then it would populate the fields. Is that specific to Together, or is that something that's just part of the suite?
That is not specific to Together or just Trello. A lot of the Atlassian products, like you saw in the keynote earlier this week, have that functionality. So you could put like a Figma file in Confluence or like a Miro board like on a Confluence page or things like that. It works across all of them.
Okay, next.
Can I just clarify something? So I'm Alex. I work for Atlassian as well, but I think some of the questions might have come from this point of view. Atlassian Together is the most feature-rich editions of each of those products. So Atlas, Confluence, Trello, and Jira Work Management. So even if today you might be a customer of one of those products, if you're not on the enterprise version and you decide to purchase Atlassian Together, you would be upgraded to the enterprise version. I think secondly, One of the things and the conversations that we've had this week, a good way to think about this, let's say many of you are already Jira customers. Rather than thinking about, okay, we have X number of licenses on Jira, X number of licenses on Confluence, how does Atlassian Together benefit us? Is to really switch that around and say Atlassian Together is work management for the entire organization. This is how you take teamwork wall to wall. And then a subset of your company are going to be folks that use Jira or might need additional licenses, your tech teams, for example. But that's really how we've started to have conversations and what this deployment can look like.
I find it, so the functionality of bringing teams together, I think like when you're an organization in like 250 trying to get to 1,000, I could see how Together can actually empower us for that end-to-end solution of looking at working together across the walls that you showed. I guess it's more of a comment. It would be nice to see a version of this catered to the smaller groups that are trying to grow to the 1,000 licenses. Because to your point of licenses, like we're over here talking about like, well, how can we maximize and get to 1,000 faster? Because we see how this could help us, but we're limited, right? So we've maxed out on Jira software licenses and Confluence and the price point between those two, but then, yeah, it's just for startups, 250. It's like, this is all exciting, but we're not gonna be an enterprise for a couple years. Or at least we don't think we want to be an enterprise today.
I'll just add something to that. So it is very important to Atlassian that the feature and functionality and interoperability of the products themselves are not exclusive to Atlassian Together. So let's say, for example, you like how all these products work together and you want to take advantage of that. You can do that absolutely right now just by using the products together. None of the capabilities that you see here are exclusive to Atlassian Together. However, what happens when you purchase Atlassian Together is a massive price discount, right? So that 1,000 users is set up, you get access to all the highest, most feature-rich versions of the products, and it's at an incredibly compelling price point. But you still get all the same functionality if you were to use all the products together in exactly the same way that Emilee and Heather talked about.
I see why you have selected which cloud apps you've picked to integrate together, but is there a roadmap to add anything else like JSM especially? I can understand Jira and Bitbucket being off, but JSM Cloud would be very beneficial, especially for the portals.
Yeah, so I'll take that one. So the way that we, Atlassian, was thinking about like building this solution was that we have like open DevOps for like our software and technical teams. We have Jira Service Management for ITSM. There wasn't really something for like business teams or knowledge workers. And because Atlassian Together is made up of our work management tools, that it made the most sense to bundle those together.
But JSM, the way you template it and sell it, isn't just ITSM, right? It's your HR team, your other business units that are using that more frequently than they are the work management.
I mean, oh, go on.
Oh, I would just interject and say that's true. There are a lot of like business teams that do have use cases that work for Jira Service Management. But depending on the complexity of it, there are options to build out some of those workflows in Jira Work Management. Just more basic forms for the majority of teams can be done actually through Jira Work Management. I'd say for more complex workflows, JSM is the better option, but we think that for the majority, they can cover it in Jira Work Management.
Okay, thank you.
What if you already have an on-prem license for Confluence, but like 30,000 plus users? When you purchase Together, does it come with migration assistance to cloud?
I am not sure if it comes with that, but it's definitely something that we could offer or provide and connect you with the right people. Are you on data center or server?
Data center.
Data center? Okay, there are use cases for that. If you wanted to talk about like migrating, we have a bunch of solution engineers at our booth in the expo hall that could help you start some of those conversations.
Awesome, thanks.
So, we inherited Atlassian. It was, it was a decision that was made at our company, so we're starting to put our hands around it all. We have 7 apps. I don't know who's using it. We're trying to do the audit, right? Before we become enterprise, and only it might be an easy pre-sales question, but do we have support from Atlassian to look at our current state to achieve 1,000 users? Or is that only the CSM? Because to me, that was always, I can't work with the CSM until I'm at 1,000 users, but I want to get there quickly. So is that pre-sales?
As far as pre-sales go, I mean, we could connect you with someone from our sales team to get those conversations started. It's really easy if you just come by the booth or just stay and talk to us afterwards. We can do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Yeah, thanks everyone.